Welcome back to Off the Shelf Book Talk with Book Lovers. And I know that's a mouthful, but we got it right this time, first try. So anyway, on that note, Betsy, what are you reading?
Well, I just finished the new Kate Quinn book that came out, I think just about a month or two ago, called The Huntress. And so this book is set post-World War II and follows a group of war criminal hunters who are looking for this.
Is it nonfiction?
It's fiction, but it's about the same kind of topic where it's the people hunting Nazi war criminals. And so there's a guy from England and his sidekick who are hunting for war criminals, and they're looking in specifically for a woman who they don't know her real name, but they call her the Huntress because she would find people who were fleeing in the woods and would bring them into her house and make sure they felt safe, and then she would shoot them all. And in her mind, she was like saving them from terrible things. But so she got away after the war, so they're trying to find where she went. And in the meantime, in Boston, there's a teenage girl whose father has just met a war widow who's come over and is going to be getting married. And so it's seeing how those two stories connect. And then there's also another story that weaves in with the one guy hunting his wife and how her run-in with this huntress. It was really good. Sometimes Kate Quinn's books don't always grab me, but this one moved pretty good, and I really enjoyed it.
And what's the name again?
The Huntress.
By Kate Quinn?
By Kate Quinn. And this one's World War II. I know there was one she did, I think it was called The Alice Network. I haven't read that one yet, but that's World War I.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. Another one I just finished was, there's been a lot of hype about this one. It's Greer Hendricks is the writer, and it was The Wife Between Us.
Yes.
If you've seen the cover, it's a blue cover with like
a division,
two faces. I think one's looking sideways and one's forward. I'm not sure, but and it follows that same pattern with an unreliable narrator. So for people who aren't familiar with this book, there's a woman who's been recently left and divorced by her husband, and he's getting remarried, and so it's her interfering, and there's several twists along the way too. And for me, this sticks in the Gone Girl genre, and I really just need to stay away from the books related to Gone Girl because they're just really not pulling me in. And I know I've said that before, and I keep reading them thinking I'm going to be wrong, and I'm not wrong. So
I am not a Gone Girl fan in any way, stretch, or form.
It was interesting. I thought it.
Name again the book?
The Wife Between Us.
The Wife Between Us.
I thought when it got to a certain point, there were just a few too many times they tried to make a turn, like have a twist come in, and you were like, okay, now we could have left that out. But I don't know, it was one I was excited to read because so many people did like it. Mm-hmm. I read it, it was a pretty quick read for me, but I didn't even keep the book. I gave it away to somebody.
Pass it on.
To read it, so yeah. It's one of those now that I'm glad I can say I've read it and I can talk about it, but
no big deal.
I won't read it again.
It's not a keeper.
No, it's not a keeper. What have you read?
Well, I've just finished Queen Bee. It's Dorothea Benton-Frank's summer read. Mm-hmm. She always comes out with a new book every summer. Mm-hmm. And this one, she came out with one last summer called By Invitation Only, I think. Mm-hmm. And that was really head and shoulders above her normal chick flick type of stuff. Mm-hmm. Always writes books, take place in the low country of South Carolina, Charleston, the islands off the coast. That's what, and this book is no different. It's about a daughter. There's two daughters and a mom. Okay. And the mom is in her 60s, and her husband left her years ago, and she's been depressed and angry ever since, and she just doesn't get out of bed. And one daughter up and married some rich guy and moved to Cleveland. Okay. The other daughter is sort of stuck there taking care of mom and then trying to kind of build a life on her own, which she hasn't been too successful with. And then things get tossed in the air when the sister in Cleveland finds out her husband wants to be a female entertainer. And so she comes home, and then through some more frolics and twists, Mom happens to be a costume designer.
Oh no.
So Mom not only gets out of bed, but Mom puts on her matching sweatshirt and sweatpants and heads to Vegas with her daughter to start making costumes for the brother-in-law. And so that's a whole twist. So there's some moments in it. I mean, it's a good book. You won't go wrong reading Queen Bee. It's just standard Dorothea Benton Frank. There's some great moments in it, just not as good as last year if that's what you were looking for. And then if you want to read something, I read a couple different types of books. One is Year One by Nora Roberts.
Oh, yes.
And it's about a plague.
Yeah, I've picked it up and read the back of it and then put it back down.
Well, you know how I am about zombie apocalypse books. I'm into zombie. So I thought, well, Nora Roberts jumping on the zombie apocalypse train, but hers is it's called Doom, and it's like a black plague by evil spirits that has been released into the world, and billions of people have died, and those that have survived have kind of banded together and tried to build communities, and then there's like rogue warriors who come along and try to kill them and all this sort of thing. And so it could have been a zombie apocalypse very easily. It was actually pretty good. There's 3 in the series. The next one's called Bone and Blood and Bone. And that one's actually pretty good. And the third one comes out this fall. And stuff. And I got them from the library. Would I buy them? No, probably not. But it passed the time.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So, and I'm probably the only person on earth who's not read much of Nora Roberts.
I haven't read too much of hers either.
I'd read one book, like, who knows how long ago. So it was sort of like, oh, Nora Roberts, okay. So anyway, she apparently can write virtually any genre.
That's good.
And stuff. So what else are you reading?
Well, I just finished, I've talked about that this was one I was waiting for. The name of this book is Stay Sexy and Don't Get Murdered, the Definitive How-To Guide. And it's by Karen Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstark. And I've talked about them before. They are the two they do the podcast, My Favorite Murder. Co-hosts, yes, that's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. This is why you're here.
That's right.
You can be the rest of my brain that didn't show up today. So pretty much what they've done is they have different phrases that they've said kind of throughout their run and their comments that their people that listen to the show would be familiar with. And then based on these different phrases, they've done like a dual memoir of them getting through different rough patches in their life and different situations. So let me see if I can find one that's not too off color.
Is it good?
Yes, it's very good.
Is it a hot book?
It's what do you mean by hot?
Meaning, well, not sexy hot, as in popular hot.
Popular hot, yes. That's why I asked before I said anything. Like, one of the things they've said is, like one of the ladies always refers to the people on the show, like the victims. She'll call them a sweet baby angel. And so then they'll talk about, so then they use that phrase for when they were younger, before, because both the hosts have had some issues with addictions for different substances, and so they talk about getting through that. Then they have one called, there's a saying they say called, you're in a cult, call your dad, which basically means you need to realize when you're doing the wrong thing and reach out for help.
Okay.
That one I'm not going to read out loud because that doesn't have a nice word in it. And then there's, what's the other one here? Get a job, buy your own stuff, and stay out of the forest, because nothing good ever happens in a forest. And so, I mean, it's just, they've taken these different phrases, and there's some artwork that other individuals have done and posted that they've included as well as pictures of themselves.
So is it sort of common sense?
Yeah. And I mean, it reads very much like they talk on the show. Like they just sort of throw it out there and just keep going with it. And I found myself laughing, and Tom would look at me like, how can you be laughing about that topic? And they'll say that on their podcast because they'll say, this is a true crime comedy podcast.
So that's sort of an oxymoron right there.
It's like we're not saying that comedy is funny, but because we have so many anxiety issues, we choose to laugh at these. You have to laugh, otherwise you'd be terrified, would never leave your house, is basically what they say. So, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I read it very quickly. I will read it again. It's
a keeper.
It's a keeper, yes. But I really enjoyed it, and I have a friend that hers just came in the mail yesterday, so she's just getting ready to read it. And she's like, don't tell me anything that happened in it. I was like, I won't. I'll try not to. But, yeah, no, like I said, I enjoyed it.
So you would recommend it?
Yes, yep. And I think this is like the third book that I've mentioned on this show that I got from a podcast.
That's okay. Podcasts are good.
They are. Yes, I was thinking about that today. I was like, I'm going to have a whole section of my bookshelf that's going to be just books from podcasts at this point.
Well, people who watch our TV show may not be aware that it's also available as a podcast.
Yeah.
And you can find it on like the Leader website and our Facebook page and things like that. So it's available in 2 formats. So if you're driving somewhere and you like to listen to podcasts, don't forget Off the Shelf.
Yes, and I'm hoping to maybe have it on iTunes and other formats at some point, but I'm in the process of a move, and so everything's kind of in a standstill with that kind of production.
Well, hopefully it'll pick up as soon as you get settled.
Yes, so will the reading, I hope, because I've been a little limited to more so audiobooks than like sitting down and reading an actual book. So I've been on the previous shows I've talked about it. I'm still working my way through the Charlie Davidson series by Dorinda Jones. So I think I'm on the 6th book, and there are 13 in this series. So I've got a ways to go, but this is the series where the main character is a detective and also the Grim Reaper and can see dead people.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yes. So the lady that narrates these is just so funny, and she just does such a great job that they're great to listen to, and it's been really nice to have. And I've gotten to the point where nobody else. There was somebody who was working their way through the series, and they were before me. And so I would have to wait 2 weeks, like between everyone, and the person in front of me must have taken a break because now I don't have to read, and so wait for them to listen to them.
So do you listen to it as you packed?
Yes, I listen to it as I pack or as I'm in the car. I've listened to them. I don't listen to these ones at work just because I don't need somebody coming in and being like, why is the church secretary listening to something about the Grim Reaper? Just seemed a little odd. So I was like, well, I'll listen to these at home. And then, but another one I finished is this one here, actually. And this one's called The Wednesday Letters. It's by Jason F. Wright. And what this book is about is there's a couple who own a bed and breakfast, and they pass away on the same night. The husband was sick with, I think he had a brain tumor, and then the wife has a heart attack, and they both pass away. And so the kids come home and are going through things, cleaning up, getting everything ready for the funeral, and they find all these boxes in the basement. And it turns out that ever since the night they got married, every Wednesday the father wrote a letter to the mom. So they have a letter for every single Wednesday for their entire marriage, and they were married for 40 years.
Oh my.
So they start going through these letters as they're getting everything ready and putting together memories. And of course, there's a dark secret in among the letters, which brings the drama into it. And I told a friend of mine, I said, it's really like a Hallmark movie in a book. I mean, and it's I would probably classify this closer to a Christian fiction. There is most of the characters in here have a very strong faith, and they do address that. But it's got, I mean, the overall thing I would say is it's family, love, and forgiveness would be the major themes. But I really enjoyed it. So this is one too that I read fairly quickly. And I actually got it because I liked the cover. I was like, hey, this looks interesting. The cover, it's a little bird holding a letter over a letter slot. And so it was posted on a Facebook page, and I was like, sure, I'll give it a try. But yeah, I would call it a little Hallmark movie in a book, and
Okay.
just kind of a feel good, kind of sweet, and it's kind of fun too because in the back, the epilogue is in a letter.
Oh, how
so you
fun.
get to open it up and you have your own little
Oh, that's
notes
fun.
that lets you know how things wrapped up. So
Oh,
yeah,
that's clever.
yeah, it was, and so it's a nice lighthearted one.
Is that a keeper too?
Probably, yes, unless I find someone I feel should borrow it, and then I wouldn't be afraid to not get it back. But it's kind of nice to take a break from murder and
Mayhem.
crazy people with the wife between us and read something light.
Yep, that's true.
What else have you been reading?
Well, I'm back to John Sanford had a new one come out this summer. Or I think it actually came out in April. But
Okay.
I just, the wait list for his stuff is so long. It's called Neon Prey, and it's a Lucas Davenport book.
Okay.
And, they're always sort of twisted. But there's a fellow who's sort of heavy for a mafia guy.
Okay.
And somebody won't pay the mafia guy money for a loan shark, So he sends this guy out to beat him up so that he will get the message. Well, this guy ends up getting beat up himself. The guy he's beating up hits him over the head with something, and it's just mayhem between these two. And so the mafia guy ends up getting arrested. And so in the meantime, the police all show up and everything, and they track him, and they find out he lives backwoods in Louisiana somewhere. So they discover as they're going to his place that he's a serial killer. He's got all these bodies buried in his property. And in the meantime, he escapes too. So now he's on the lam. So they're trying to figure out where he is. And in the meantime, they're, excavating all these graves in his backyard. And he's a serial killer on his own time, but he's also a mafia hitman. So some of these bodies are hits and some of these are just, so there's some wading through this whole thing.
Do you need a chart?
It's not that complicated, but Sanford's books are always sort of twisted and potentially dark. And this is no different.
It's making me think of when I was in high school, we had to read Great Expectations, and we had a whole chart we had to do with the different characters and lines, how everybody connected. That's what you're describing. I'm seeing this chart in my head.
Well, yeah, it's actually not that complicated once you start reading it, because a lot of the characters are reoccurring from past books. So you already know who those folks are.
Yeah.
And then Lucas, he started out as a Minneapolis police officer and detective and got fired. Well, basically because he was asked to resign because he beat up a guy, and so they couldn't have that. So then, because he had connections, he just would get these political appointments. So now he's with the U.S. Marshal Service, and then he's got some people who he hangs with in there, and then they always show up at these things. And so, it gets, it's pretty, it's good. It's a good read if you can get past the subject matter.
Yeah. Well, I've been spending a lot of time recently in the Dr. Seuss realm with Alex. The summer reading program at the libraries has started up. It's in Hutch and up in Dassel.
And Cokato.
So
Litchfield.
And with those, filling in his little squares, you read. But he's on a very big green eggs and ham kick. And only half of the time are you actually allowed to read the words to him. Otherwise, you have to sit and watch him turn the pages. And then he tells you what he thinks is going on.
And how
it can be very interesting. I've gotten some videos that I've sent out to some family members. But there's one part where he just sat for a page looking at, there's a scene where they're all in the water after the boat. They go on a boat or something. He just kept saying, a boat, where's the boat, a boat? And I'm like, I don't want to hear any more about the boat. But it'll be fun because in order to color in the different spots on this chart they use to track their reading, you need to actually sit down and read for 20 minutes, or there's different things you can do. And I think that'll be fun because he really does enjoy books, and so it'll be fun to be able to take him to like the story hour and this summer and all of that as well. So
There was a great program, and you might have seen it
yeah.
in June when they kicked off the series, the Stories in the Park series in Hutch of Sema and Papa Sema and Auntie Dallas.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's African music. And they performed in Hutch, Dassel, Litchfield, Broughton, Glencoe, the whole Pioneer Land.
Okay. Yeah.
And stuff, and really remarkable. He is like Bruce Springsteen in the Congo. He's like a big time guy.
Wow.
Yeah, and then when he moved here, his celebrity didn't travel with him. So he went from like world class to playing in a dance band.
Okay.
And it all changed when he got a McKnight Fellowship.
Oh, okay.
And was able to give him the money to make some changes and stuff. But that's what I know. Alex would have enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, he's it's very interesting to watch him figure everything out. And then sometimes he figures out. He's slowly figuring out Goodnight Moon on his own. I don't know if he's so much. I wouldn't say he's learning the words as remembering what's going on when you're looking at a certain page. My husband will tell you it probably just means he has my memory. But he can find where there's a little mouse like drawn into the different pages that has nothing to do with the book, and he knows where that mouse is on every single one of those pages. He can find it and he points it out. The mouse there, mouse here, mouse gone. And it's like, okay. But I will take Dr. Seuss and Goodnight Moon because we were stuck in the Little Blue Truck books for like 3 months, where we had to read The Little Blue Truck, The Little Blue Truck Goes to the City, The Little Blue Truck Christmas, and The Little Blue Truck Springtime. In that order, every night and every nap time for like 2 months. And you couldn't put any other book in there. Like you could try to sneak one out, so you'd only had to read 2 of them. And he knew that there were not 4 books with the truck on the front and the cover.
Well, Betsy, I have to say it reminds me of another little person who was obsessed with Dr. Seuss's dictionary. A is for Aaron, the alligator. And we read that 1 million times. We even hid that book, and that little girl could find that book no matter where we hid it.
For people who are confused, she's talking about myself.
So I would say that Alex did not fall far from his mama.
No, he did not. So I think it'll be fun to see kind of what his favorite books are and what maybe books that I enjoyed as a kid that I can hopefully pass on. But are your kids planning? Did they do the summer reading program? Are there still time to sign up?
And it's free. There's no charge.
Yep.
And you earn rewards for
so many spaces you color in on the sheet, your kids get prizes. So.
And it goes till August 31st.
Yeah, so we'll try to post some information about that too on our Facebook. But if you have anything you'd like us to talk about or favorite books that you've read with your kids during the summer, let us know on Facebook or Instagram, or send us an email at offtheshelfbooktalk@gmail.com. And we'll see you next time.